Welcome to Disc 4 of the Learn Remote Viewing set with Major Ed Dames. In this final instructional DVD, you will execute 2 advanced Enigma targets. You'll analyze your data right along with the workshop class to hypothesize potential conclusions. You will then be shown how to perform follow-up sessions on elements of your site template to obtain additional information about your target to determine the answer to the question. The last 2 sessions, targets 3 and 4, will not require your participation with the workshop class, as with all other targets in this course. However, you will be informed of the cues that are utilized by the class so that you may execute the same targets for yourself or with an RB team on your own.
We call it a site template because most of the problems that you deal with will deal with physical entities, the physical world. You're going to be looking for a broken thing on your car or the space shuttle. You're going to be looking for the Lost Dutchman mine, the physical world. So we call that a site. It can also be called an idea template. If you're using remote viewing to gain some insight into abstract concepts, God, love, mathematics, or something like that, your data may only be symbolic. How do we know that the data is symbolic? Because when you express it, you will not be able to pick up smells and taste and temperatures because symbols don't have that. A cross, for instance, or a swastika doesn't have a smell or a taste or a temperature. It does have colors and it does have shape. So when we use remote viewing to investigate ideas have a reality, all their own, life, death, those kinds of things, then we may end up in a situation where we don't have a site template, we have an idea template made up purely of symbols. We have to make sure this first session that this is crystal clear to everybody. I've tried to make it as simple as possible, okay? Use this on everything that you do. Those little arrows, put your pen on the arrow and look at what's next, what's next, what's next. Just like playing the piano. What note do I play next? What note do I play next? Don't look back. The only time that we look back in our business, as you know now, is when we do the analytical sketches here. Movement. From the top of X, something should be perceivable. We produce an ideogram. These stage 2s, at the end of the stage 2 list, we have dimensions. That's when we look back. In order to do the analytical sketch, we have to look back at the dimensions that we acquired here. That's about the only time that we look back, except for the construction of a site template, when we collate and compile all the papers, your analytical sketches and whatever. Constructing a site template, some people ask, well, I have an AOL. So what? You've already done an end run around the creative mind. It's too late. It doesn't matter whether you have an AOL or not because it's not going to affect the output at all. It's done. The site's done. That's the beauty of the process. It does an end run around the creative mind. So follow the dots, you know. The next movement is the same as X. Exploring A, the same as X. Exploring B, the same. If you want to take a break, ask yourself if you need one at the end of stage 4. That's the only opportunity that you have to take a break. When you come back in, you start with a movement exercise. Wherever you're at, A, B, C, D, whatever. This time, I'm not going to limit how many key site aspects, I'm not going to limit how many you put there. Generally speaking, X, A, B, and the ones near the front in priority order are pretty much required to construct a site template. Why is that? Your unconscious has a strategy that it form-fits to you to solve a problem. What, in the viewer's thesaurus, in the toolbox, what kinds of memories does the viewer have? What kinds of memories of things and ideas can this viewer's ward, unconscious mind, use to construct a site diagram and solve this problem? It will draw upon whatever's in your noggin to do that. So it formulates a strategy, and that strategy first pops out as an ideogram, and then as a freehand sketch, which is the most important page in the session outside of the site template. The symbols that are here are all of the key elements archetypically expressed, and they are a function of your unconscious mind's strategy to solve this problem. All right? In stage 4, your unconscious has a strategy also. It doesn't willy-nilly explore aspect A or aspect B or X and say, okay, there's some yellow here, and over here some green and shiny and red, and over here we have something that's vertical and it's a table or whatever. It doesn't do that willy-nilly. It knows it's only got 2/3 of a page to express some really critical data, and it chooses those in an elegant manner in order to get as much quality, high-value information across to you in as short a period of time as possible. We know as professionals that if you exceed that 2/3 mark nominally, the rest of the data is going to be trash. You can't hang in there that long and play that particular piece.
It always feels like that next piece of data is really important.
I know, but that's when you say it feels, it's actually what you're saying is you think the next, and that's thinking. Stop right there. From experience, we know that do not exceed point, everything after that is almost always AOL, almost always imagination. It's hung in there long enough. Stage 4, you know this is very, very slow. Stage 1, fast, produce an ideogram, 1 to 2 seconds. Stage 2 is metronomic, click, click, clicks, textures, colors, smells, tastes, temperatures, sounds, dimensions. Stage 3, 15 seconds, a little bit slower. Stage 4, slower yet. It's 3 seconds per column. And in the 2/3 of a page, you're talking about a couple of minutes in stage 4. That's ample time, especially with all those high-level data, for your creative imagination to say, ooh, ooh, it's got a virtual cornucopia of stuff to knit together and say, I know what this is. So we stop it. We pull the plug on it. That first stage 3 sketch is critical. If you blow that, you have to abort the session and start all over again. You cannot employ your mind in that freehand sketch. Having said that, it should be fairly neat. Try to keep it neat. Commit, get the symbol down, whatever it may be, and let it flow. It's a very, very different animal than your analytical sketches, which now require you to select and intuitively place lines and dimensions on the paper. The answer to the question is always somewhere symbolically in the first stage 3 sketch, the freehand sketch. It's always there. May not be in your face. And we know that our mind breaks up archetypes. So if we've got a volcano as part of the solution to a problem, mind will unfortunately take the circular crater, put that over here, and then the mountain over here. Having said that, however, the answer to the question is still somewhere in that sketch presented. When that comes back together the right way, when the puzzle pieces are reconnected in the site template, there is a diagram, a schematic diagram, a blueprint for all the essential elements of information that make up the problem and the solution. And that diagram, the blueprint, is usually enough to solve the problem and say, oh, this is what's going on. The hip bone's connected to the leg bone, that kind of thing. And here it is. That's the answer to the question. You'll see that in many, many problems. What brought down TWA Flight 800? What's broken on this? You usually don't need to do a full-blown drawing to solve that problem. You can, but it's overkill. If you need more than a couple of sessions to solve a problem, you may be dealing with something big, and that will turn into a project. By definition, by connotation, X from the top of X. Don't use the word target. The only time that we use target, from the top of the target, inside the target, those kinds of things, the only time we use the word in a movement is when the site and the target are synonymous. When the site and X are synonymous, hey Ed, I've only got one thing here in my first freehand sketch, X. There's no A's or B's, there's no context or anything else, it's just an X, which happens. Under those circumstances, you can drop the X and just call everything the target, because it's just one thing there. From the top of the target, something should be perceivable. Any other time, you have to use those square brackets which connotate a key site aspect. X as the key site, number one site aspect. A is the next one, the penultimate important one. From the top of aspect A. You don't have to write the word aspect because it's implied by the square brackets. After you hit the site template and you go on to explore some of the elements, element 1, element 2, you don't have to worry element either. It's implied by the square brackets. The strategy that your unconscious has to solve the problem, you can't monkey with. You have no idea where you're going and how your unconscious is going to take you to the finished site template, which is worth its weight in gold in our work. It's a jump-off point for everything else that we do. You construct a building from its blueprint. These are the blueprints. We have that. We have everything we need to get as much information as we want about the target. Cure for AIDS, you name it. That first site template has all of the zip files we need to solve the problem. Where you go from the site template is now your conscious awareness pops in. You can consciously select your own stratagem. Whatever is there in diagrammatic form in the site template, you can choose to investigate. And now unconscious has done what it had to get you to the blueprint. You can turn your conscious attention to any element in the site template now and explore it in turn. It's your strategy now. Do not go back up at any time. When we produce an ideogram, whether it's the first ideogram, which is a gestalt for everything contained at the site, kind of a big thought ball for all the elements at the site, whether it's that ideogram or it's an ideogram that's associated with one of the key aspects, don't go back up and touch it with your pen to try to grab stage 2s. Watch what happens if you touch that ideogram. If the ideogram is like a zip file, right? Okay? And I go back up and touch that. I've only touched one paragraph in the zip file. And I'm pulling out the sensory impressions that are inherent with that point right there, and I'm not kidding. Right? It's just as if you had a stage 3 of some things like that, and that's my X, and that's my A. If I go back up and I explore A and I touch that, whatever's right there, let's say A is this board right here, this dry erase board. And I go back up through a lens darkly and I touch right here, right there, and I pick up shiny and gunmetal gray and reflective. I've skewed the results. I've disallowed my unconscious from taking its strategy and getting me to know what this is by picking parts of it. Rectangular, upright, vertical, slick, white. Okay? That's what unconscious will do. If I hold my pen here and I keep going back and touching that, I'm only going to get that part. That's what literally happens when you touch that ideogram. By dint of your labor, by doing that, it's a burst transmission, and everything you need to know is front-loaded right there. You got it. You're sitting on it. You know that there's white there. You know that there's yellow there. You know this. You know that. You don't have to go back up and do that because that's what you got by doing this right here. You got a big zip file, and you're opening it up here, not by going back up and recollecting a piece of the zip file. Don't go back up and touch the ideogram. If there is motion inherent at the site in any of the aspects, whether it's the target or any of the contextual elements, that needs to be expressed by a little arrowhead. Remember? An arrowhead, the direction of motion. You have to decide as the viewer, as the individual viewer, whether or not this line that you produced in one of your sketches is the boundary of a curved thing or is actually describing motion that's curved. Or both. If it's a roller coaster, you've got a fixed curved thing and something moving on top of it, which is pretty hard to pull out once in a while, but unconscious will help you do that. You have to decide, gee, is that something moving this way or is it just something that's there? That's up to you, the viewer. But if there is motion inherent in that, by all means, put an arrowhead right there to depict that. It's important. If there's an object that's in motion, like this, let's say there's a circular object in motion, then depict the motion by an arrow somewhere. Very, very important in our work, problem solving here. the biggest problem that I see is out of structure sessions. Out of structure means you've skipped a step, ignored one, or given short shrift to one. Skipped an ideogram, which is a major error, or skipped the stage 4. If you don't do the stage 4s, the viewer can still put together a site template, but you won't have any labels. You just have a diagram without any labels. And think of a blueprint without any labels. It's just a bunch of symbols of things. You're not sure which is the bathroom door on the building and which is the main entrance. You just have stuff. So you need stage 4s. That's where we solve a problem. Speaking of stage 4s, it's time to put the pedal to the metal on the T column, the tangible column. From these, put something in that T column. But not just anything. I'll show you how to do something. If you don't, the T columns are empty. Many of you have a ton of descriptive sensory impressions. Colors and dimensions. The colors and dimension columns are loaded. Well, what the heck is long, wide, flat, heavy and dense? What is that? It's a thing. Put your pen in the T column. Well, I've got a thing. A thing. Just put thing down. What's the nature of the thing? Well, it's an object, or it's a life form. If you just have thing, that's fine also. Go back to the S column. Tell me more about the thing. Well, it's also green and slick. And it's also kind of tall. Then go back to the T column. I think it's man-made. That's not a T. That's an I. Intangible idea. You can't touch man-made. So man-made in the I column. Go back to the T column again. What kind of a man-made object? Well, it's an object. Or it's a structure. Great. Go back to the S column again. Okay. It's also, well, wait. It's glassy and hollow and blah, blah, blah. Any port in a storm. Whenever you get an anchor hold, you can get an anchor hold on anything. If the first time you put an entry into the stage 4 S column, sensory impressions, 5 senses, whatever that is, it belongs to something. Your unconscious is processing the something. It's got an aspect of it, but it belongs to something. Usually that something has a form, and usually forms appertain to objects. So you've got something. Hold on to it. What's green and wide? What's low and slick? Liquid, T, liquid. Gas, whatever you got. That goes in the T column there too.
I'm not sure I understand how that's not thought process. That strikes me as a logical, I have A and B and C, therefore tangible.
Watch.
I don't understand.
Okay. Let's say this is my target. Let's say this is aspect A. Now I'm in stage 4. I've explored it already. I've done an analytical sketch. My analytical sketch may look like this. Okay? That's my analytical sketch of aspect A. I don't know it's an overhead projector, because ergo the term remote viewing. Okay, we're in stage 4 now. Now your unconscious is delivering up information to you. It needs a venue. You provide that by putting your pen in the S column first, 5 senses, okay? And unconscious says, I've got something that's brown and glassy, right? And it's also bulky and heavy. Now you know those things. All you have to do is put your pen in the T column now, and it will provide it's done at the preconscious level. By virtue of you putting the pen in the S column and the D column and capturing enough of that data at the preconscious level, just before the data crosses the liminal gate up into conscious awareness, there's some sorting and sifting going on. There is analysis going on, and your conscious awareness is looking for labels. At the preconscious level, you're looking for labels, and it'll find something if you put your pen in the T column. Thing. I got a thing. Instead of air or trees or whatever, you don't have leafy and all of that, you got a thing. All you have to do is put your pen in the T column. Do you know why it works? Because at the preconscious level, there is analysis going on all the time. The analysis took, you consciously, it is verboten for you to take the brown and the glassy and the heavy and the thick and do anything with it. You're not allowed to think. But cranking away at the preconscious level, your mind is looking for a label, and it finds something. Thing, object. It is an object or a structure. If you put your pen in the T column, that will drop out of the outbox into the T. What your problem is, you're actually thinking. You're actually thinking, you put your pen there, and the thinking is getting in the way. Once it starts flowing, it will happen. The I column and the T column are the last column, are the last places, venues for information collection that the viewer will find, will be able to be facile with. So it is a fight. And then you have to say, well, gee, how do I know this is an AOL? You don't. Not yet. Yeah. But it will kick in. The purpose of this first session for me as a teacher is to make sure that you're in structure, that you're staying in structure. Your job is not to worry about what the target is until we end this session and we talk about analysis. We'll do that together. And when I'm sure that everybody's back on track, then we'll tackle a more difficult, but just as sexy a target, just as interesting a target. Okay? I'm glad you're all here. It's really nice to see you back. This is as you teach more and more skilled people, you can have more and more fun. It's like any other skill. If I decide to change the task and say, oh, that's not really what I want, I have to change the target reference numbers too, because they now become ingrained in my mind as the taskmaster with the task. When you're your own taskmaster, if you decide to put some TRNs down for, let's say, your friend's illness, to diagnose a treatment for your friend's illness, and then all of a sudden you say, you know what, I want to go back and look at the source of the illness first. You can't use those same TRNs, because you just use them to point to the treatment. Now you have to gen up a set of TRNs to point to the origin, different set of numbers. So you guys are going to have to actually solve the problem. It is soluble, or I wouldn't give it to you as a first project. Don't worry too much about solving it, but go to work, do a good job. I'm going to be looking at your structure.
You are about to begin Target 1 on the RV4 DVD. At this point in your RV training, you should have memorized the word descriptor list and the remote viewing session flowchart. You should not be using anything within your RV sessions besides a small stack of blank white bond paper and a black pen. If you feel that you may require additional practice or review to become more comfortable with executing sessions in this manner, please feel free to review previous Learn RV DVDs or to conduct additional practice sessions. Your first target is an enigma. I will now read the target reference numbers that Major Dames provided to the workshop students. After you obtain the target reference numbers, pause your DVD player and begin the session. The target reference numbers for Target 1 are 86394472. Let's continue. Please have your first completed session in front of you before you watch the target feedback. If you did not yet remote view the first target, stop here, go back, and do it now before proceeding.
The Navy, for many years, had a bunch of hydrophones under the water worldwide, secret stuff, and they became obsolete because of a new technology. And so they turned over these hydrophone arrays to the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration. The scientific community is pretty much aware of all of the sonograms and what they stand for, what makes this, what makes that. This is a blue whale. This is a sperm whale. This is this. This is a tanker. This is a speedboat. This is an underwater explosion. They all have specific sonograms, voice prints, if you will, and which are known. From this worldwide array of hydrophones. But there are a few, as you see, look, this is underwater volcano, different species of whales and different water and zones. And even though the water is different temperatures and you would imagine that you have different sonograms, they're still close enough that you can recognize each of the species of whales. These are knowns. There are, however, some enigma. Here's some unidentified sounds here from this acoustic array that NOAA now controls and possesses. And names are given to the sonograms based upon what they sound like to the scientists. They just slap on a name here. Upsweep, whistle, slow down, train, Julia, and bloop. So the scientific community does not know the origin of these sounds. Okay? So I chose one of those, enigma, this one, what they call the bloop. All right? That's the one that I chose as targeting material. And as target reference material, I used the sonogram itself. So this became, for us, target reference material. Now, just as we're all wont to do, we look at this enigma and we say, gee, it looks like this and it could be that, and scientists discuss it. And they come up with some postulates. Maybe later some working hypotheses, but really just postulates right now about what this may be. And they think, the majority thinks that it's mostly what? They're thinking, well, it's an awful big sound, and it sounds like something that's close to natural frequency, naturally occurring sounds, that is, animals. Maybe it's a giant squid, because we know there's these big squid in the ocean. We just don't have a lot of experience finding them. They're hard to find. They're very elusive and very big. Whereas the people that know cephalopods, the zoologists that are in the cephalopods said, well, you know what? We don't see how they can be, because there's no airspace in a cephalopod, one of which is a giant squid, to make a sound like that, like there is in a whale, for instance, big airspace, a sinus cavity. So there's nothing that can make a big boom like this that would travel thousands of miles underwater, and it does. So how do I find out, using our techniques and methods, which work, what that is? Is that just an error in the central processing unit, wherever the fusion center for sonograms is at NOAA? Maybe something went wrong with the equipment and that's a spurious signal or something like that. How do we find out what the heck that really is? This is how we do it. What would we use? What aspect here? You guys really don't know this. I'm going to show you what to use. And then you'll see the range of cues that we can have. What do we want to know about that? Do we want to know its source? The source of that sonogram? What's the source of the sonogram? What made this is a piece of equipment. So we don't want to turn our attention to the source. It's like, oh, gee, you know, what I really wanted was the what? The origin. The origin, not the cause, but the origin. We want to know what the origin, see that word right there? Origin? Yeah. So that's what I used for targeting material. The origin. So when I gave that to you, the TRNs, the target reference numbers, became the pointer that pointed to this idea, the origin of that. And that's what you were remote viewing. So it becomes interesting in your site templates now. We want to turn our attention to what was X. Let's take a general, broad look at what X was here, because that's our target. The rest of the stuff, some of you probably got water or liquid or something like that. That's context. But what is X in your site template?
And there's flesh and
Okay, so you're saying it's man-made, the origin man-made. Anybody else agree with that? Yes? Why? But your data better support that. What are we looking for first? Your summary data. Your summary data. Just the facts, man. What's the summary? You collate your data. At the site, the site is a structure or structures on land or whatever, in water. Some of you may, again, it's very difficult for new viewers to pick up water. The site is a structure. At the site is motion. The motion is this, that, or whatever. At the site are objects. The objects are blah, blah, black, round, shiny, or whatever. That's how we collate and describe this. Those words may only be taken from your data. That's it. Then, after the summary is written, articulated, then you can jump to analysis, and your analysis is intelligent guesses. Intelligence because you use your summary data, not some wild-ass guess. You use your summary data and say, what might this be in my knowledge base? He's got things in his idea template, but the X is a box. It's a cube. And out from the cube is coming stuff. So that's not a life form as we know it, unless there's cube people out there somewhere. It's an artificial thing. So that eliminates, well, there goes the CNN hypothesis, and no, it's not a giant squid. That's very helpful to science, because we can use remote viewing to cross-Q, as we used to say in the intelligence business. We can use it to point satellites this way, look this way, or spies, go over here. We can use remote viewing to direct other systems and save lots of money and time. Right? You put a 1 on whatever you're interested in, and you go hit it again. From the top of element 1, something should be visible. You get a lot of data on that, descriptive data, and then we do another analytical sketch, and we go from the analytical sketch to a drawing. By this time, you have enough time on target, you have enough connection with the target, you've spent so much time that you actually can take a separate sheet of paper and begin to pen and ink whatever that is, whatever it looks like. Do we have an answer for the question? What is the origin? Have we eliminated anything? Yeah, we have. That's a good start. You've eliminated at least the idea that we're dealing with an animal or a life form as the origin. Okay? Because everybody's got right-angle structures as the X. He actually said it's like a big bell that gives off energy, like that. Well, that signal is heard thousands of miles, thousands of kilometers away from its source, where the hydrophones are not near 50 degrees south, 100 degrees west. These hydrophones are across the ocean somewhere else. That's a lot of energy that's putting out, a whole lot of energy. His analysis, one of the hypotheses was a big bell putting out a burst of energy.
Let's keep the pace going. Instead of Major Dames conducting a target preface, we're going to jump right into target 2. This is the second and final target that you will execute along with the class on this DVD. This second target is another Enigma target. I will now read the target reference numbers that Major Dames provided to the workshop students. After you obtain the target reference numbers, pause your DVD player and begin the session. The target reference numbers for the second target are 5833 2774. Let's continue. Please have your second completed session in front of you before you watch the target feedback. If you did not yet remote view the second target, stop here, go back, and do it now before proceeding.
This is an ice circle. These pop up here and there sporadically. Very thin ice. You can't walk on this without breaking through. And they're actually cut into the ice. They're chiseled by something which appears to be an instrument. Those are ice shavings around there. Actual ice shavings. So what did that? It's an enigma. They're field investigators and they're scientists, and they pay a lot of money to do analysis, laboratory analysis. Some of the best labs in the country or overseas if they have to, could not come up with a conclusion about what made this other than it looked like it was cut into the ice. That's it. Their best investigators could not solve this problem. They had no idea what made that circle. Enigma. Because one of the beauties of remote viewing is that not only can it provide pieces of the puzzle that are crucial for the solution of a puzzle, but it can sometimes provide the first piece. Do we want to know what that is? Do we want to know what that is? No, we don't want to know what it is. We know what it is. It's a circle in the ice. What do we want to know? What's the question? Source. Yes. We want to know the source. So we have to set it up as a cue. So that picture becomes target reference material. I chose as target reference material the top picture, the top photo, because I don't want a person in the photograph, right? That just mucks it up. Here we have a nice clean photo right there, the top one. Nice and clean, no people, nothing in it. And I can draw an arrow, which I did, on the target reference material. I drew not an arrow, but a line from there out here. And over there, I put these words. What do I call that as a target? What should I call it? What? Ice circle. Yeah, I could do that. Why name it at all? I've got to point it right at it. Just call it a target. Target. I assign a couple of target reference numbers, which we did over here. 5712 3684. That's my target. That's not good enough, right? I don't want to spend 45 minutes describing ice. I want to know the source. So we qualify this with source. Now this becomes our target. And this whole thing is what? A cue. This is our cue. Target 57123684/source. There. But now how do I give that to you completely blind? Because if you walk in here and I say, okay, I want you to write on top of your paper target 5712/source, that's still not clean. You're still armed with something here that may trigger your imagination. So what we do is we take this cue and we assign it a target reference number, right? So now it's perfectly clean. We use another pointer to point to this pointer. And we assign 58332774. These become our target reference numbers for this cue here. Now that you know what the question is, what caused the circle? Is it an animal? Is it air, a natural phenomenon? You have a structure in the air. Cutting. Did you actually use cutting?
That's what I thought. Broken by energy.
Oh, neat. Okay. Anybody else back there? How about up here? We need a consensus on this stuff. We have to have as an analyst, you guys need to look for common elements. You got some common elements here. You got something. We don't know what's emitting necessarily, although I think two individuals said structure. But we've got something coming into the target that we've got lines. We have something moving. Two people said energy. The emitter is a structure. All right? We're not drawing any conclusions now other than we did with the bloop thing. That looks like we're not dealing with a natural phenomenon necessarily, or, well, that's what we know right now. We're not dealing with a natural phenomenon. It looks like we do have something that a causal agency that's not natural. That's a first shot there too. If that's the case, then we can set up another queue. So we take that, and the real fun begins now, folks. We're not going to do this right now for reasons that I'll get into momentarily, but we got this thing up there, let's say his session, and he'll say, that's interesting, and I got this, or whatever. This is my element 1. We could explore that. Or, now that we have our teeth into something, we can say, the origin of element 1 should be perceivable. What's the origin of that? That would be neat. If it's a bird, it goes back to its nest. If it's a Marine Corps helicopter on a special secret laser mission, it goes back to its hangar. We sketch a hangar with a bunch of people refueling and that kind of stuff like that. We do whatever is necessary. Or if it's something else, we sketch something else.
You have completed the active sessions on this DVD. Now sit back and relax as you watch the Level 4 workshop class students execute the 2 final advanced targets. First, they will execute an open search, which simply consists of the cue Open Search. An open search is the most difficult target class since the viewer does not even know the question. Experience has shown that running this cue almost always provides a newsworthy event that will take place in the near future, usually within the next 2 to 8 weeks. The second and final target is an optimal near-term investment. This cue will provide the class with the current most profitable investment for the near term. From experience, we know that the matrix interprets the phrase near term to be the immediate 2 to 4 week period. You may feel free to run these 2 separate cues on your own or with an RV team. But remember, these cues produce future newsworthy events and the current optimal investment. Naturally, these future events change all the time, so your results will be different than that obtained by the class each time you run the cues. If you would like to work with other remote viewers like yourself on these targets and countless others, join the RV community free at www.learnrv.com/community. On March 11, 2004, a terrorist attack was carried out on innocent civilians in Madrid, Spain. This horrific act took the lives of an estimated 200 individuals, with over an additional 1,000 more wounded. 5 weeks earlier, on February 29, 2004, Major Ed Dames and the Level 4 workshop students conducted an open search remote viewing session. This session accurately predicted the soon-to-take-place event in Madrid. Major Dames and the RV4 workshop class have executed an open search remote viewing target. Since an open search usually provides a newsworthy event in the near future, the class must now determine what the event is based on the RV data. The near future event could consist of anything. Analysis of the RV data for this type of target is extremely difficult and usually requires many sessions to conclusively determine the future event.
Obviously, most of the time it's going to be a place. Most of the time, there are exceptions. We have a place, and is anything happening there, or is it just the place? Have you just dropped into a table or a house or a gopher hole somewhere? Yes or no? Something's going on. Does a something seem significant, or is it just, does it seem insignificant? Significant. Okay, so we have a class of target that's an event. In the future, in the past, present, do we know? You don't know. Well, there's no way to know. At this juncture, mind's outside of time. So there's no way to know whether this is past, present, or future. From experience, I can tell you that what falls out of an open search seems to meet a certain criterion, but there really is no way to be sure where we are in time. You see what I mean about solving for the unknowns? The who, what, when, where, how, and why. When we have a question, where is Mr. X, or who done it, or what's broken on my car, we've got some knowns, some givens, and we're solving. It's much easier to solve for an unknown. Here, everything is unknown, including the when. Present time. See, when we qualify a search term with a temporal qualifier, present or now or next or past or future, we build in the time, the window into the queue. Here, we don't know where we are in time, so we don't know that yet. In the past, when we've used open searches, it usually drops down something that is an event, and it's going to happen. It's a newsworthy event that will happen within the next 2 weeks to 2 months. It's usually something significant, but it may not be, even though it's newsworthy, the news may not pick it up because it might be secret, a secret attack somewhere by someone, that actually a coup d'etat or something like that. And so we don't know how far away we are in time from the present. What's happening here? What do we got? What's the scenario then? What kind of an event is this? What were your AIs? Good, bad, or indifferent? If you were here, if you were actually at that event, what would your emotions be? Your aesthetic. What's the aesthetic impact? Is it a place you would want to be? That's interesting. What? Yeah, positive or negative? We'll start there. Negative in what regard? What were the actual words that you used to describe your emotions vis-a-vis the event? Now, anger and yelling are not. Anger and yelling is not an emotion. Yelling is an intangible idea, or it could be in the S column under audibles, one of the 5 senses. All right. So yelling is not an emotion. So we've got some highly negative AIs here. We've got a negative situation predominantly. All right, now we've got that, so we know that something's going down that's not necessarily positive. Where are we in terms of geography? All right, down to the nitty-gritty, the I column. What kind of intangible ideas? Because one word, if it's correct, we don't know what the correct words are here. But if let's say that the I's were correct words, the intangible ideas are worth their weight in gold, because they could say, hey, it's this, or this. Very, very descriptive, high-level terms. What kind of intangible ideas do we have?
Business-like and organized.
Okay, well, the business-like and organized are intangibles, but the hateful and arrogant are EIs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, so confrontational type of situation, is that what we have?
It's just like a lot of tension. It's a lot of fear and a lot of tension.
Fear and tension.
That's like
Okay, so what's the extent of the, okay, now how about motion? What kind of motion is going on here? Do we have bullets flying, fists flying, words flying, bombs, microwaves, anything else like that? Do we have motion here at the site?
Yes.
We do.
Yes.
What's the nature of the motion? Is it just people in motion, or is other things?
Things,
Running or herders.
Running. Running?
I feel I have a tube and I have people in a tube, and they seem relieved and content, and they're disoriented and anxious and observant. But then I have emotion above that that's going all in one direction, and I have to feel like there's an evacuation. And those people are very anxious, very.
So you've got people inside something and possibly below, and they're sitting out whatever's happening above. Out of a structure towards what? Out?
Towards a road or towards
And what were their feelings? Happy?
tolerant and patient.
Intolerant and impatient. Okay, anybody else want to take a swag here? Yes, sir.
I did get explosion, fire.
Explosion and fire. That's in your site template? All right.
The person that commits the act is very professional and businesslike.
What should we do next to find out more about what we've got in time and space? Let me walk you through a little step here. Take out a separate sheet of paper and write S6 at the top and put a number on it, the next number in your session. Whatever the number the IT was, make this the next number, one up. Okay. After the S6, to the right of the S6, write location flag. Drop down a couple of inches and draw a rectangle that looks like a flag. Doesn't have to be big. You want it small, folks. A small rectangle, because we're going to do this about 3 times on the same page. And go in here, very carefully listen to me now, and pen and ink any symbols that may be on that flag for the location. Let your hand pen and ink any symbols in the flag. Don't get your mind involved. Your hand has to do this. Don't get your mind involved. There's no thinking here. Pen and ink the symbol. Pen and ink the symbol. Your hand has to do this, not your brain. Your brain has to shift to your hand. Hand has a brain all its own now. Pen and ink the symbol and the flag. Drop down another 2 inches. Draw another rectangle. You cannot do this without having at least 40 minutes in session. Some of you won't listen to what I just said, and you'll try to take shortcuts in the future. And your work will be trash. It'll be junk. It'll be meaningless. After 40 minutes in session, this can be done, and it's pretty accurate. We're looking for the symbol. All right? We're not looking for the color. Colors don't come out well. Sometimes you'll perceive a light color as yellow, pink, orange. Don't go with the colors, only the symbols. As Carl Jung knew, symbols very powerful in the collective unconscious. Easy to pull out. Symbols for corporations, symbols on patches, military patches, all doable if you're really connected with the signal. And the more detailed you get, the easier it is to identify.
Ed Dames has now instructed the class to conduct another movement on the target site to find the nearest significant feature.
Nearest significant feature. Yeah, because most would hold you on the site, and there may not be a significant feature that you'd be able to find there. Whereas nearest releases unconscious to go fetch whatever the nearest significant feature would be. Do we have something that's tall? Now, okay, here we go. We got our teeth into something. We have a tall a structure, a man-made tall structure. Okay. Ordinarily, this would so what, but this is a significant feature, so we really want to know where we're dealing with. Okay, what's the other data about this tall structure? Is it a monument, or does it have a function? Like, for instance, is it a rocket launch pad or what? We're going to look back at the structure. We're going to gain some more perspective and some dimensionality of the structure. And then we're going to draw it. We're going to use a pen and ink drawing on a separate page and draw the structure. We're not going to draw it as a symbol. We're going to actually do it as a drawing. All right? So this is what we'll do. We'll do one more movement that I'll give you. That will produce another ideogram. From blah, 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 something should be visible. That'll produce an ideogram. You'll get some more stage 2s, some more dimensions, and you will do an analytical sketch based on those dimensions. When we execute target geometries, we don't go into stage 4. We skip. There's no need to do stage 4s. We only want to know what something looks like, its shape. So we skip all the stage 4s. So you're only going to do one movement. Here's the one I'll give you. Write this down, but don't actually produce the ideogram yet. From 100 meters west of the nearest significant feature, we won't say target because there's too many targets implied here, something should be visible. From 100 meters west of the nearest significant feature, something should be perceivable. What does it actually do in terms of idea? It takes us about 300 feet to the west, looking back to the east at whatever that is. So the dimensions that you get now are very, very important because those are the ideas of what the size and shape of this thing from that perspective. These dimensions are critical now. After you go through all the stage 2s and you have the dimensions, jump into an analytical sketch. The analytical sketch will be the way this looks, looking back to the west from 100 meters away. And then after you do the sketch, grab another sheet of paper and write S6 on it and draw this thing. Draw it. Don't be afraid of making a mistake. This is an exercise too. It's still a classroom environment. Draw whatever this is.
Major Dames has informed the class to conduct yet another session associated with the event. This time, the cue involves finding the target geometry of the nearest significant feature.
And look, the person didn't finish the top here. They're very, very interesting. See? Whose is this?
There's no, it's just top.
Yeah, you see? The top wasn't finished, right? In our work, here we go again. They're equivocated about the top here. They wanted to put a peak, but they kind of didn't. This is really.
Is that a tower? Or is that...
What is important here is that we're looking for uniqueness. That's going to make it easier for us to locate this on the internet as a photograph, unless somebody recognizes it right off the bat. We've got a tall diagonal structure. And look at what people are doing. They're truncating the top. Oh, so it's a big office building with all kinds of offices. That kind of. Is that anybody else got? Is that congruent? Yes.
The suits.
Suites. Suits. Okay. Do we have men in suits? Any other ideas? Could it be an office building? If it is, it's pretty unique, but easy because it's a significant feature. It'll be something that your unconscious gives you that you can easily find on the internet or in a magazine or that you recognize immediately. Big Ben in London, Hyatt Regency, whatever. Be something like that. It won't be hard to find because it's a significant feature. And your unconscious is your best friend. So it gave you something that you would recognize rather than the office building down here in some homogeneous environment. Do you see where we're going with this? This is why you see how much work this is. That's one of the points I want to make here. That we're trying to, as soon as the site template is through, the rest of the strategies are yours. You don't have any choice on getting to the target. But once that site template is constructed, any strategy you choose is yours. Choose wisely because this is so much work. And all the movement exercises are a lot of work too. But you're going to get closer and closer and closer to whatever you want. It's just going to be a lot of work. The near future, by the way. Because what I haven't told you, and I didn't want to overlay you, is that the results of an open search are usually within the next 2 weeks. And they usually are newsworthy, and about 75%, 80% of the time, they do make the news. The other times they're secret. A secret cabal somewhere in Chile or whatever that's significant. The Matrix knows, but CNN doesn't. Right? This is usually what pops out of that search term, open search. It's something that's over the horizon that's newsworthy. Why that is, I do not know. I don't know why open search produces that class of data. But it's great for educational purposes because you start from scratch and you got to do all this work to find out where the heck you are.
Let's take a look at the data provided by the RV class. Most students received the following data in their sessions, and have agreed that this data accurately portrays what was then the upcoming event. Highly negative emotions at the site: fear, terror, anger, hatred. A student indicates that he sketched a tube under the city with people moving in boxes inside it, which appears to be a subway or rail system. Another student indicated the individuals conducting the act were businesslike and organized. Evacuation was taking place with an explosion and fire. People were mostly running in a single direction. They were impatient and intolerant. The region's flag symbol in which the event would take place appeared to be Spain. The nearest unique feature was identified as a possible skyscraper office building with a unique diagonal structure with a flat top, possibly the towers of Madrid. Though the Level 4 workshop class provided some compelling data, it is still difficult for new remote viewers to determine these types of events without more practice and expertise. Professional viewers, with appropriate follow-up sessions, would have no difficulty isolating the event and place. Let's move on to the next and final target, the optimal near-term investment session. The class will now execute an optimal near-term investment session. The data from this session will provide the most optimal stock, company, or product that one can invest in for the highest short-term profits. Remember, if you wish to execute this cue to find the next optimal near-term investment for yourself, please ensure that you are trained enough to obtain accurate results. RV can consistently be up to 80% accurate. However, this is for experienced remote viewers. We suggest that you conduct many dozen practice RV sessions to be sure that your skill level is capable of providing consistently correct feedback for this type of target. Also remember that an optimal near-term investment changes frequently, since there can only be one at any given point in time. Therefore, the optimal near-term investment that the Level 4 class obtained has already changed many times since the taping of the class. Though we do not promote the use of remote viewing for profit, this is yet another example how remote viewing can answer any question you have, no matter the subject or the goal.
I think a suggestion for a next target would be optimum near-term investment. Now you could append it with your the reason I like to do it without prefixing it with your own name is because everybody will come up with the same investment, which is optimum. That may not mean that you have the resources to buy into it, but it will still be the best. Collective will say, "Oh, glad you asked. This is it," and it's an easy target. It's so easy, but it's still an unknown, right? I'm not going to front load you with possibility with what it might be, because it might not be any of those at this juncture. But I think it would be a good target because it's so easy to analyze. Investment is adjudicated by the matrix as money. We know that. As opposed to treasure. Treasure is not necessarily gold, silver, or whatever. That could be a book somewhere, knowledge that you need to know, that kind of thing, a treasure. I'll gin up target reference numbers in the queue, and we'll look at, from this point in time, optimum near-term investment and see what the matrix drops down. Whatever that will be the same thing. The matrix will say, okay, on the cross level, this is the optimum near-term investment. It could be llamas or a llama farm. We don't know. So on this particular queue, there can only be one. This is the nice thing about this. Optimum is a superlative. The most, the best, the next. It's a superlative. Actually, next isn't a superlative. But optimum and most, largest, right? Earth, Jurassic Era, largest land-dwelling creature. It can only be one. Now, you may pick it up in different stages of its development, but it's going to be the same one. Everybody will get the same one. So optimum near-term investment. Optimum means the optimum. There's only going to be one. So those of you who get something other than what everybody else gets, you're wrong. I got to tell you that up front. If you are if you're picking up something as an individual viewer that is not what the consensus has, then you screwed up. Now, don't put your name. Just put Optimum. If you put your name, it will probably not be what everybody else gets. More than likely, it won't be. Optimum near-term investment for you, for instance, might be the house that's down the street that's up for sale. And the best investment for you would be that because it's available to you, and someone's going to give it to you at a good price, and you can turn around and resell it right away. Whereas, that's if you put your name as a prefix. Here, it's global in nature. So, easy target, guys, if you stay in structure. Keep your mind out of this, and you'll have the right answer. No thinking aloud here. Just click, 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 click. Don't get one stage 2 term and say, oh, look at that, it must be. Don't do it. Just keep on trucking, and you'll get it right. You won't know what it is until the idea template. You won't know what this is until you finish the idea template. Anything prior to that is going to be the wrong answer. Any conclusion that you draw prior to the construction of a site template is going to be the wrong one. Take it from me. You've got to go all the way on this. Analysis will be easy, however, on this one.
The class is now executing the optimal near-term investment session.
How many of you got a big circular thing? Just one big circular thing? Raise your hands. Dr. Wallace, you had a face on a circular thing, correct? What is that, pottery? No. What is it?
It's a logo, I think.
And what in your guess, it's a logo, okay? It might be something else. Those are, the rest of you who got circular things, what did you get, Marilyn? What was yours? It looks like a mountain range too. But you know what? I could take your sketch, Marilyn, and I could show your stage 6 to somebody and say, do you know what this is? And they would all say the same thing, yes. But you don't. You know why? You're bilocating. You're so close. Your nose is so close to the grindstone, you can't see the forest for the trees because this act of remote viewing is not an analytical act. You did exactly what you were told to do. You stayed in structure and you sketched whatever it was, which was the answer to that question. But analysis, what I'm asking you to do now, which is not fair because you're still in a right brain mode, right? Analysis is left brain, which reinforces the idea that we talked about in level 1 and 2 workshop. Don't try to analyze your work as soon as you finish it. But it's funny the way this is, because if I showed anybody a couple of sketches in here, like Marilyn's, for instance, as an example, they would say, oh, that's a, but you can't see it. Is that clear? So that's a coin, Marilyn. That's a coin. Dr. Wallace, that's a coin with a face on it. It's a coin, and that face that you have on it is the face on a coin. That kind of thing there, too. So I kind of lied to you when I said everybody would get the same thing. Generally speaking, there's a number of different variations on the theme of optimum, but not that many. So generally, I would suggest that you get up and walk around and look at your fellows, your classmates' work, and come to a consensus about what may be the optimum investment, at least from this point in time, near term. Some of you, in your face, coins. Now, the coins are interesting. You could identify exactly what coins. Are they just, what color is your coin, Dr. Wallace? Huh? Yellow. What color is your coin? If that's a coin, Marilyn, and you didn't know that, anybody else would by looking at it. What color is that? Gold.
It's apparent that the class has obtained the metal gold as the optimal near-term investment. As displayed in this chart, gold moved from $399 per ounce to a high of $419 per ounce for the 4 weeks following the execution of the optimal near-term investment Q used in the class. Investors of this commodity received a 300% return over margin in the futures market over that time period, thereby making it truly the most optimal near-term investment within the stock and futures market during that time frame. Remember, though, As the market changes, the optimal near-term investment will change. By running this Q daily, it's possible to always have your funds in the optimal current investment. When the answer changes, your current investment is no longer optimal and should be placed in the new investment vehicle. To personalize the Q, you will need to place your name in front of the Q. Please note, though this Q is often used by professional remote viewers, neither Ed Dames nor Cybercore Productions promotes utilizing remote viewing for profit. Congratulations! You have completed the Learn Remote Viewing DVD set. Completing this set has taught you all of the fundamentals and skills necessary for continuing this training on your own through executing your own blind and front-loaded targets. Even though you have completed the Learn RV DVD set, remember, you are still an inexperienced remote viewer. Continue practicing on as many targets as you can to continue to enhance your abilities. Please do not allow remote viewing to interfere with your friends, family, or place of employment. As you have seen throughout this course, RV requires a tremendous amount of dedication and rigor in order to master. It is crucial that you follow the guidelines and structure taught throughout the DVD course, and do not stray from the process that you have been taught. Remember that the structure presented in the RV course is a result of over 20 years of research and testing. Though some processes may be confusing or unexplained, each phase of an RV session exists for a very important reason. Finally, now that you're a more experienced remote viewer, you're invited to register at the official Major Ed Dames Remote Viewing Community Forums. There you can chat with other remote viewers, assign targets, trade target reference numbers, or ask fellow remote viewers questions you may have. Access the remote viewers community online at www.learnrv.com/community. This is a free service provided to all remote viewers and requires no obligations. Good luck, remote viewer, and thank you for finishing the Learn Remote Viewing DVD course.
I've been remote viewing for about 3 years. I've just been able to do so much with it. I've used it to find many of my lost things. I've used it to find things for my family members. I've used it to see future events that could affect my life, could affect my family's life. Just a myriad of things.
The most important thing and the most fun thing that we've done with it is the lottery.
How many times have you won the lottery with RV?
Twice. And,
Oh, twice.
yes, it's really exciting. I think that's one of the most exciting things.
It is crucial that you do not skip lessons nor look ahead at lesson plans. prematurely viewing information and session feedback before you complete a previous lesson will seriously inhibit your ability to learn this groundbreaking skill. Welcome to the Learn Remote Viewing Workshop 4 DVD.
For years, retired U.S. military intelligence officer Major Ed Dames and his team of professional remote viewers have been looking over the horizon of time. But recently, an event has been foreseen, so catastrophic, it marks the end of an age. The age of mankind. The day we all knew would come is upon us. Find out what.
Everything you see here will be scrap metal.
Find out when.
When the space shuttle is forced down to the ground, that's when it begins.
Find out how to survive.
These zones are eminently survivable.
The Kill Shot. Order now at thekillshot.com or call toll-free 1-866-607-8439. It's about time you knew the truth.
This colloquium represents the culmination of 20 years of my work with regard to the UFO problem.
About what the government has kept hidden.
So where are we? Where is that? It's Mars, planet Mars.
Finally, everything will be revealed.
The best videos that we have in terms of a hot zone of UFO activity, it was really important.
This presentation by retired U.S. military intelligence officer Major Ed Dames reveals never-before publicized information regarding UFO technology, the purpose of crop circles, Area 51, and more. Are aliens real, attacking the UFO enigma? Order now at ouraliensreal.com or call toll-free 1-866-607-8439.